I don't know about you, but I love a fire, and especially bonfires. Seem like all us guys like fires. We're going to have a fire, and as you sit around the fire, there's a lot of amazing things that we can talk about and object lessons that will come out of the Bible. Stay tuned.
Dwight, I don't know if you've ever thought about this, but, that back in the Dark Ages, they used to burn Christians for their faith.
Probably had a bigger pile than this, huh?
Yeah, have you ever thought about that? What that would be like?
Well, I saw a movie one time, and I think it was about Huss, and, of course, he was one of the reformers.
Yeah.
And he was standing for his faith. And it's just amazing that the one thing I remember him burning at the stake, but I also remember he was in a dungeon, and he had a candle. He had been writing a letter, and he had this candle, and he put his hand over the candle, and he went, "Ow!"
Oh yeah.
And the whole point of that shot was, if this hurts my hand, because I've been burnt before.
Oh yeah, it doesn't take much.
It doesn't take much, and he's thinking, what's it going to feel like if they strap me up on this pile of wood and burn it? What a deal. But there's a story in the Bible about the three worthies called
Daniel
Shadrach.
chapter 3.
Yeah, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, and what a tremendous story. It makes me think about that, and it all was over worship.
Yeah.
Who are you going to worship? And with Huss, with the reformers, the same thing, but with Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, here these were wise men, and they were captives in Babylon, and they decided that they were not going to bow down to this image.
That's right.
That image, wasn't that the same image that King Nebuchadnezzar had a dream about, or not?
Well, yeah, the Bible doesn't tell us specifically, but we can only, deduce that in Daniel chapter 2, of course, Nebuchadnezzar had that dream that God gave him, and he showed him this great image made up of those different metals.
Right.
And Nebuchadnezzar was told that you're this head of gold.
Yeah.
And that was to symbolize his kingdom.
Right.
But his kingdom wasn't going to last forever, because the prophet Daniel said that there's going to come another kingdom after yours. And so it seems like what's happening there in Daniel 3 is Nebuchadnezzar, the Bible says he built that image all of gold. Doesn't tell us what it looked like, but I think it must have looked like that when he had in his dream, and he was making a statement. No, my kingdom's not going to pass away. My kingdom's going to be forever. He made this 90-foot tall gold image on the plain of Dura.
Which was a flat plain, which I imagine hundreds, and if not millions of people who were out there could see it a long ways off.
Yeah. Yeah, and then he had all those, he ordered all the people in the kingdom to come out and bow down to that image. He had made a special day where they were all going to come and worship that image and bow down to it, in essence bowing down to his rulership as king. And, I think that the people understood it as an act of worship.
Well, they were all told that they had to bow down, and there's a couple practical applications.
Yeah, it wasn't optional.
It wasn't optional, number one. And I've often thought, well, obviously that was Babylon. But as I read further, I found out that obviously the Jews were under captivity.
That's right.
And it wasn't just Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego and Daniel.
That's right.
It could have been 1 million or 2 million Jews. I mean, they had destroyed Israel. They brought these captives back, killed a lot of them, and now he builds this huge, huge statue. It's 90 feet on this plain there. Said, "You will bow down when you hear music."
Oh, yeah.
Which really is another thought. I mean, music is powerful.
People don't realize that music plays on music appeals to the physical, appeals to the body. You've heard a song before, and you start wanting to snap your fingers.
Right, that's right.
And
that's right.
And God, God has intended music for good, but the devil uses music sometimes too. And there should always be a balance of the music and the message, and the message should be the key part.
That's right. Absolutely.
But in the music of the world, it really focuses, the music overpowers the message so much. You've heard guys say, I've had friends say, when I've listened to certain songs and they say, I don't know about the words of that song. Those aren't uplifting. And they say, I don't pay attention to the words. I just like the beat.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's what they're saying, is they're letting their bodies get into the music and be driven by.
Well,
and not just bodies, but emotions.
That's right. And it's strange. I guess to make the point, which just came in my mind just now.
Yeah.
I've been to Europe I've been to Italy, France, Germany, Holland. I've been to Korea, South America, Africa, and the people that don't speak any of the language, English, they aren't speaking. I've been into stores. I've been into places, restaurants, and they'll play some song from America, a rock group, and they're swaying to the music.
They're listening to Michael Jackson in Japan,
and they're doing the same thing that we would do. So really, music is a powerful language. So they took that music.
Well, you say that, but that makes me think of something else. I mean, even you go to different countries, and even the kids. You know, in our country, you know, kids say something like, you know, na 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 na, na, you know, and in foreign countries they don't say the same thing, but they make the same music, and you can pick it up.
That's right.
You know, because it's universal.
It's universal. So what you're saying is that not only did the king tell everyone they are bowing down, everybody, Jews, captives, it didn't matter, And in order to help them to get them prepared, they played this music, which is a powerful language. But yet here's
a music that would overpower the message, and instead of them thinking through what they were about to do, it had more of a physical effect and led them into something they didn't want to do.
And yet here's
some of them anyway.
Right, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, and it relates that they were the only ones. Daniel was off somewhere else; he wasn't there. But
okay, no, we didn't say this yet, but the king basically said, "Bow down, or I'm going to be angry with you."
Yeah.
He said, "Bow down, or I'm going to throw you into a fiery furnace."
That's right.
And basically, you're going to be consumed. And so, I mean, with that in mind.
Think about it. I mean, what would most people, if they really didn't have, again, we talk a lot about connection with God, but if they didn't have a connection with God, what would you think? I mean, like I said, we just talked about how hot a fire is.
Right.
And here, if you don't have a connection with God, don't you think you'd bow down?
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, I would.
Think about it, like you said. Now, it wasn't all Hebrews there. I mean, it wasn't all Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego were not the only Hebrews there. There were others. But when it's all said and done on this plane, they're the only ones left standing. I mean,
it's a plane. It's not like, I mean...
Have you ever thought to yourself, you know, if I was out there, and I mean, I'm going to die if I don't bow down, but I don't want to bow down, maybe it would be a good time to tie my shoe. Have you ever thought about that?
Well, how many people probably did that? They probably knelt down and said, I'm really not going to bow down I'm going to close my eyes, but I'm going to worship the God of heaven. That's probably what many of the Jews said, but the point of it is when they bowed down, it still said, you are worshiping. Everybody knew if you bent down, and those three worthies said no.
Yeah.
They said no. They could have, you know what I was thinking, they knew it was going to happen. They could have called in sick that day.
Right.
You know, and but they didn't. We better get this thing going.
Yeah, we need to get this started, huh?
Yeah. Tell you right now, I wouldn't want to be in. I think of those three worthies when, you know, and they told him. They said the king brought him up and said, "Why didn't you bow down?" They said, "God live." They said, "Oh, King, live forever." In other words, they was very kind.
Oh yeah, he gave him a second chance.
He gave us. You know why?
I mean, think about it. And when they came back to him, not only did he give him a second chance. I mean, they're going to be thrown in the furnace. He said, "Look, in case you guys didn't understand what I was saying, I like you guys.
Yeah.
I'm going to give you another opportunity. When the music plays, you bow down. If you don't bow down, you're going to go into the furnace."
And they said, "Oh, King, live forever," but we are not. I mean, it wasn't like we don't want to. It says we are not going to bow down. We only will bow to the God of heaven. And so what did they do? He said he was in a rage, it says.
That's right.
And he said that I don't know how they did it, but they got that fire going 7 times hotter,
right.
Which I can't even imagine. I mean, fires are hot, but, well, what do you think? We better get this thing, we better light this thing, huh?
Got to get it started.
Now, I've been a Boy Scout for a while.
Food, one of the most essential elements for life, providing nourishment, energy, and even enjoyment. But what if there was no food?